reside. My name is Kiana Sage, and I guide people to peace. Today's discussion or topic is about what a midlife crisis is from an energetic perspective. So before I dive deep into that rich topic, I want to start by saying I am not a therapist. People ask me every time in the chats about, am I a therapist? I do not practice therapy. I don't even recommend therapy. I think there's a lot of people out there that like therapy. You know, I think if you can find the therapist who can bring you back into yourself without making you dependent on them, then you found the right one. There's very few that do that. I am not a fan of that kind of process. I think if you know yourself in your heart, then that will change how you experience your life. But we all have our own process, and energy psychology is really about shifting, changing, and adjusting patterns in your field that might be blocking or hindering you from aligning to your soul's purpose. And that's really what I help my clients do, which is realign and feel more alive, more at peace within themselves. So if you're interested in that, that's what this channel is all about. This channel is really all about bringing people back in alignment with the natural laws. Those are laws that are organic to your DNA, your blueprint within each and every human being. These are laws that are superior to humanity over the laws of the land. Now, I know the hierarchies out there like to say that their laws of the land are the real laws, but energy has rules in which it operates with that we all have access to. And when you start to understand the rules, then you can, navigate life quite differently. So my name is Kiana Sage, and we're going to dive right into a midlife crisis. What is it? What is it from an energetic perspective? And I've had several male clients, highly successful executives, has a very stable marriage, stable work, career, making plenty of money, and they're miserable. So a midlife crisis is essentially, when you break it down in its root. Hello, Sky. Good to see you. Hello, Oliver. It's a spiritual crisis. A midlife crisis is the same thing as having a spiritual crisis. Hi, Eric. Good to see you. Another great day and a good topic, Eric. A midlife crisis is a spiritual crisis, period. It's a complete disconnection from your purpose, your reason for being, and it's feeling lost. So I wrote down a few things I thought might be helpful. When people are in a spiritual crisis, they often feel lost or disoriented. So basically, they're going through the motions. They're going to work. They're doing their job. They're doing a good job. They're probably better than most. And yet they still feel lost and maybe a little disoriented and dissatisfied. By and large, that is the crux of what a midlife crisis is. There's no real reasons for the apparent dissatisfaction, but they really feel like they're empty inside. Oftentimes, this can also be combined with feeling anxious and not at ease, essentially. Sometimes people feel depressed, and they use a lot of clinical terms, but what's really most important is that people understand that their level of awareness of feeling lost is really a disconnection. And it's not more complicated than that. And I think the danger for many people is that they go outside themselves to so-called professionals who then diagnose them with these labels, and then they really tend to have more difficulty. The other alternative is that they tend to go into either smoking a lot of pot, and this is mostly men. Women, I don't find have the same. Women have crisis, they don't have midlife crisis. You know, they don't need a particular time to have it. Men are programmed to do life a particular way. Women are too, but when it happens for men, it's different. And they do what everything society tells them to do, and then they're not happy. They're like, what am I doing? What's going on? I did everything right, and why am I not happy? And most people aren't happy because they're abiding by society's rules of what is happiness versus listening to their own inner guidance and following things that will help them feel better. I think the emotional theme for most people that I've experienced who say to themselves that they're going through a midlife crisis is just disappointment. They're just not pleased with themselves, with their life. It's not that they don't like what they've done all the time. It's just that they think they could be doing their life better and differently, and they just don't know how to adjust and change. So I'm just going to check and see if there's questions, and then I'm going to go into my recommendations of what I believe is helpful that you could do on your own, and that I've seen work for many of the clients that I work with. And so I'll just check and see if there's any question. Oh, somebody is saying that they agree with what I'm saying about doctors. Rini, I think I'm saying, I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Well, I'm glad that you agree. You don't have to agree. And anybody that's been on my channel already knows that I don't agree or need anybody to agree with me, but it's nice to see that people are open to understanding that a diagnosis doesn't necessarily help you. It might initially make you feel better to have an answer, but sometimes what somebody's saying the answer isn't really the answer. So then you get misled, and being misled can be more devastating than not knowing. Okay, so what I will say from an energetic perspective is when we have a spiritual crisis, which is what I think a midlife crisis is, that there are some pain and wounds that need to be addressed, and they haven't done that fully. So let's just use, I'm just going to use an example of a client who he termed himself as having a midlife crisis, and I don't disagree with him. He was definitely in a state of just kind of desperate to try anything. And usually when people come to me, there is a level of desperation. Hello, Scotland. So what I will say is that when people have failed experiences, let's just say you got married, the marriage didn't work out, you got divorced, the kids and the co-parenting has been problematic, there's been challenges. And those perceived failures, I'm not saying it's a failure, but if to the person that's having those experiences perceives it as a failure, that will leave what's called pain and wounding. If we have experiences, I want you to just look at that one experience. If we have that experience and we didn't get all of the lessons from that experience, it will perpetuate until you go back and address what is it that needed to be healed and needed more attention. So it could be a myriad of things, but the lack of attention to the pain and wounding is where the desperation and the emptiness comes from. Because when we have wounds that are unhealed, that is a lack of love in those particular experiences and a lack of love that sometimes gets lodged in the body. And when those aren't healed, it will keep coming back until it gets the attention that it needs to heal. It won't heal without attention. It won't heal without an incorporation of love and healing. How does that happen? It comes from conscious awareness. Conscious awareness coupled with love brings healing. When those two are brought together, that's how we heal. That's how you heal the emptiness. So let's just say you're 40-ish and you got everything in your life that you love, but you feel empty. That's why it's a spiritual crisis, because you have not connected to your heart fully. That doesn't mean you're not loving towards others. It means that you need to connect with your heart in a deeper, more profound way on a regular basis. So my suggestion is this. I'm going to answer the question. I'm going to ask the question, then I'm going to answer the question. What can you do to change? What can I do to change? If I'm having a midlife crisis and I'm a male or female, if I'm just having a crisis, connect with your heart. Put your hand on your heart and just connect with yourself and consciously breathe for 5 minutes. Do that for five days consecutively and see if you notice how you feel differently. That might shift you, but it's not going to fix the problem. The problem needs to be addressed through learning. Learning brings growth. Growth brings expansion. And when we have expansion, we can bring in more light. Light is the same as love from an energy perspective. It's equal. It has different frequencies. So what kind of light you're bringing in? Do you want to just have like a little shadow, or do you want to have bright light? So that takes conscious awareness. That's how, and an insight, it does not mean you're aware. An insight is just that, aha. If you don't incorporate the learning, then the lesson is never really fully embodied. And embodiment is the key here, because when people are in a midlife crisis, they're feeling empty. So that means that you need to embody your own essence, right? You need to embody your essence, know who you really are, and that will help. Of course, you can ask a question. Best movie scenes. Of course, you can ask a question. I will answer any questions around this topic, and I'm going to go back and see what the questions are, and I'm going to go down. Enzo. All right. Sky, thank you very much. Eric, so good to see you here again. Oliver, from an energetic perspective, what's a midlife crisis and can it come at any age? Usually, well, first of all, what is it? It's a spiritual crisis. Can it come at any age? It can, but typically it's a program, right? It's a societal program that will come typically around 40 years old. Essentially what happens is people, men specifically, are socialized to make money, have the career, have all the things, like get the car, the toys, all these things, and then they have a realization that they have the things, these material things, and it doesn't fill you up, because you cannot be filled up from just doing, and buying material things. It's empty. That's why men feel empty, because they're doing what they think they're supposed to do, not spiritually connected. And I don't mean, you can go to church every day and still have a midlife crisis, because the essence of who you are will never come from outside you. It's never going to come from a nice car. That's going to bring moments of excitement and joy, and then that's not going to be enough. And then you might decide at 40 something that you want to go get married because you might as well. You're not feeling that happy. Maybe if I get married, I'll be happy. and it said nobody ever, right? Anybody who's married knows that that's not going to bring you happiness. It might bring you a sense of fulfillment and moments of fulfillment, but marriages are challenging. So you can't look outside yourself for fulfillment. And I think that's a good question. It can come at different ages, but what most people don't understand is that it's programming. People have been programmed and socialized. Just like a computer gets programmed, just like an app is programmed, we are programmed. And unless you deprogram yourself and you declutter or defragment yourself, as lots of people do with computers, but do they do that with themselves? No. And then they go into crisis. It's very natural. And a midlife crisis can be tough, but a health crisis is going to be worse. And a lot of times they come hand in hand. Because when people ignore themselves, they feel empty and their body starts to shut down. Okay. Mom vibes. I'm not a mom. I'm a puppy mom. Okay. I'm just looking for the question. Okay, so I do not see any questions. So if I don't see any questions, I'm going to end this live. I'll give you all a minute. It's going great. Thank you for asking. Somebody's asking, what do I think of Judaism? I don't. I don't. Okay. I don't see any questions. I saw a lot of inappropriate messages here. And I just think, don't you all have better things to do with your time than to sit and put crude messages in chats? I just think that's so crazy. Okay. Account email. What am I aiming for here? I'm not aiming at all. I'm just here to provide alternative insights and perspectives that are in alignment with the natural laws and that allow people to find healing and perspective in their life so they don't get stuck or feel stuck. I'm already married. Thank you. Mary is asking, what do you mean I don't? I don't think about Judaism. I do not think about religions. I don't give them any time of day. It's not important to me. People could have their beliefs, and I have no judgment on other people's beliefs. I know what I believe. Okay, I hope you all have a beautiful day and found this insightful. My name is Kiana Sage, and I guide people to peace using the approach of energy, psychology, and realignment of patterns that bring us back to the soul, which will always bring us into alignment with the natural laws. That's what I believe, Mary. I hope you have a great day. Have a good one. Bye.